about it. So let's get started. So the objective of the sessions in next 3 hours, we are going to talk about like we're going to start with the cloud computing, and then we will also discuss about some of the architecture related stuff, and then we're going to discuss about the IaaS and PaaS and SaaS as well, and we're going to discuss about the differences between these models, and also some of the cloud computing advantages what we're going to discuss, and then users, computing users and things like that. Okay, so what is cloud computing? And cloud computing is something like a place where you can get the desired hardware and software based on the demands. So how this is coming, and how this is evolving. So if you remember the the way we were doing the software development, and the way we were consuming the hardware resources, like remember in 2000 or 1990s, once we need a hardware or software, what we used to do, they used to buy the hardware like boxes, like Dell boxes, HP boxes and things like that. We call it a physical servers, and we used to get it. But what was happening at that model was like utilization of the physical servers. We were having the consumptions which is very less. So probably if you are having a 10 gigs of RAM and 100 gigs of hard disk at that time, probably if you look at the average utilization, it is very less, because probably it's not more than 10% or 50%. So people have realized like they cannot continue buying the physical hardwares. Organization has realized, like, you know, the growth, the consumption is growing like anything, and everyone is moving towards the cloud. Everyone wants to store the files and their, you know, pictures and database and many more things on the net, rather than they're storing in the hard disk. So so that is where the optimization for the physical servers has started and becoming popular. So since then we have got the virtualization in the many concept, like we got the many hypervisors, like let's talk about like VMware, which is one of the popular, Zen, we have a VirtualBox, and many more hypervisor which has come, and they started offering the virtualization environment. In that what you can do, you can you know, you can have a sort of physical servers, and in that you install the hypervisor, and then in that you can have as many virtual machines you wanted. And that's the way people started started maximize the consumption of the hardware resources, and that is how the virtualization concept got introduced. But with the cloud computings, when virtualization has become very popular, then people realize the importance of having the data somewhere in the cloud, and which can be accessible based on the demands, anywhere. So, and you can scale up. You need more, you can get it more. If you need less, you can configure less. You pay only for those which you are using. So not only the storage, but also you can set it up the networks, storage, servers. You can have any number of applications as such. So that is the kind of requirement what we started getting. Okay, and that is where the boom of the cloud computing become very popular. So now many organization has come up, and they start setting up the environments where they can, you know, offer the storage, they can offer the CPU processing computing, which we call it computing, and they can offer the application based on the demands, and that is how. So overall, like, it is a kind of evolutions where we want to, you know, utilize the hardware resources to the maximum extent, and also same time we want to store most of the data on the somewhere in the cloud, so, and which can be accessible from anywhere. And so that is how the evolution got started. So so what exactly, how it is impacting to the teams, like how it is impacting to the you know, art teams, like software development teams, like how is impacting to the managers, developers, and many more. So if you look at your utilization, let's talk about in terms of QA needs hundreds of servers, developer needs you know, tons of servers or machines or infrastructure, and IT team also do require a lot of server requirements. So they want to improve those infrastructure, and they want to extend their infrastructure based on the demands, and whenever the demand is not there, they also want to reduce the things. So how can it be possible? How can it? So cloud computing is the kind of solution which is being we are going to discuss, and how is going to help each one of you, like developers, managers, software teams, and end users. How is going to help you? That's where we are going to discuss about it. So as part of the cloud architectures, if you look at the normal uses, what you do, you have a storage, you have an application, you have a platform, software platforms, you have a desktop, servers, all these things which we can put it on the cloud, everything, networking, routers, switches, everything we can set it up in the cloud. And how can we access? Just it require the internet connectivity. So now, there are many concepts which is floating in our domains, like world of computing, like what is a IS, hybrid, DevOps, PaaS, so many things. And again, we have very limited time where we can we will not be able to get into this thing. But again, when we talk about artificial intelligence, big data, machine learnings, DevOps, IS and PaaS and SaaS, and so many things which we are offering. These are the services we want to offer that. And all these services require the greater amount of computing power, greater amount of storage power, greater amount of the reporting power. All these things require the greater amount of the computing, storage, network, and processing. So how can we get it? That's an important question, because now we are talking about the DevOps, now we are talking about the IS, now we are talking about the artificial intelligence and big data, and that require the data processing speed. And we did it now. Probably we don't need every day. We need it probably for some hours, few hours in a day, or probably few days in a week. Probably we need a few months, but not every time in the year. So we should immediately elast our services to the extent where we can use it, and then we can reduce the infrastructures if you don't need it. So it's kind of things which is being provided by the cloud. So now let's talk about the models, what we have in it. So in the cloud delivery model, we are having the SaaS, software as a services, in that we are offering many services. Like you want the software which is available right now, and you want it. If you don't want it, don't use it. So that kind of infrastructure which can be available over the cloud. We are also providing the platform as a service, like we need a whole platforms, like whole database services to be built, database application servers, hosting platform, networking, everything to be built. So you want to provide as a platform. You also provide the infrastructure as a services, like where you want to provide the virtualization of the desktop, internet availability, and billing model, and many more things. So these are the model where we talk about the SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. So these are the model which basically have been empowered by the cloud model. So that's how it is. And then again, on this we have an infrastructure, platform, and software. So these are based on the cloud model. So you can see on this image, like you can run the applications in the cloud, you can run the data, runtime, middleware, operating system, server, storage, networking, almost every solutions which you can offer on the cloud platform. So and some of them is being called as an infrastructure as a service, some of them are being called the platform as a service, some of them are being called as software as a service. So basically, in a nutshell, you can provide the infrastructure in the cloud, you can provide the platform in the cloud, and you can provide the software in the cloud as a service. And that's the kind of things which we have it. So so what are the characteristics of the cloud computing? So there are various characteristics we have here, and one of the important things, like on-demand self-service. So you need it now, I get it now. If I don't need it now, I just obliterate the things. So I don't have to pay for the things which I don't need anymore, or which I'm not using anymore. And again, a broadband network access the way you wanted, the kind of speed you wanted, resource poolings, rapid elasticity, and measured services. So these are the characteristics of the each model what we have in the cloud computing. Okay, so what are the benefits? So benefits, as you can visualize that, like benefits are endless. Like we are moving from the physical servers to the virtualization, and from the virtualization we are moving to the cloud environments where we are having the complex infrastructure in place, and it's available for the anyone is users. So those who need the infrastructure in terms of computing, storage, processing, reports, monitoring, and many more things as a service, as a platform, as a software. So you can get it, and you can pay for only for those things where you're using, and if you don't use it, you can just avoid this. So basically, ultimately it will help you in terms of saving money, data, time with the cloud computing, and most important part, integration between each of the things. So there are many benefits which we have it here. So now we did discuss about the cloud environments, where we discuss about some of the model characteristics, advantages, and things like that. So what is AWS? What is AWS? So basically AWS stands for the Amazon Web Services. Again, it's like Amazon, who's the company name, who's having the n number of cloud services, they call it web services. It's a secure cloud services platform offering the compute power, database storage, content delivery, and other functionality. So basically, in a simple way, if you want the compute power, which in terms of CPU and memory, you can get it. If you want the storage, you can get it. If you want the networks to be set up and the security to be implemented, you can get it. So everything you can get it over there as you need it, and you can scale. Maybe you can downscale and you can upscale based on the needs, based on your growth. So these are the services in terms of compute, storage, networking, security. These are the services which has been provided by the Amazon on their own platform, and anyone can use it based on their needs. So that is being called as Amazon Web Services. Okay, so these are the sort of services, these are the kind of services what we have. And now if you look at it, the model what we are seeing on the screen, this is the page you will get it after the login into the AWS. So once you get logged into the AWS, you will see something like this. So you have a compute, and if you look at the sections here, you have one section that is for compute, other sections which you get it a storage, third section which is being called as a database, networking, administration and security, deployment management, analytics for the big data and related things, application services. Here, as I said, like AWS not only provides the platform as a service, but application as a service, software as a service as well, mobile services as well, and enterprise. So these are not the complete list. Let me tell you, we have more than 200 plus services which is being offered by the Amazon AWS services. So basically, these are some of them. And we are going to talk about some of the features, and I'm going to show you the demo as well for some of them. So important things, why we need a AWS. So some of the points we have already discussed, but these are the things, these are the bullet points which you can discuss, like easy to use, flexible, cost effectiveness, reliable, scalable, and high performance and secure. So we get it everything. So if someone is scared about data security, AWS has a kind of mechanism where it can store not only your large amount of data, but also it can secure it. Okay, it is reliable, it is cost effective. Now this is one of the most important feature, and it is easy to use. So again, I'm going to show you that how you can use the AWS and get the things up and running. So again, it is been charged based on your uses. Basically, where you use it, so you pay only for the uses, not for the anything like in that case, if you have a requirement only the certain infrastructure, and you avail those infrastructure, and probably suddenly your requirement has grown to the certain levels, and immediately in case of physical hardware scenario, you will not be able to scale it up, you will not be able to but here you can immediately you can scale it up, and then once the requirement is over, maybe scale it down. So these are things which is being offered by the AWS. So we call it elastic, like the way you want to elastic the services. Okay, so this is the company which has used actually basically these AWS services. These are the major companies actually which has used. So the next question which is coming is like, AWS cloud has solution for what? Okay, so now these are some of the bullet points. So you can use AWS for hosting your application, websites, anything. You can use for the backup and recovery. You can use for the archiving the file systems. You can use for the disaster recovery. You can use for the DevOps. You can use for that big data, and you know that big data's processing is very large. It requires a hell lot of processing speed, memory, CPU, and storage, as well as huge terabyte of the information is available to process. It is a lost span of time. So basically, you have big data. You can use it for the financial services, high performance computing, digital marketing, e-commerce, media, entertainment, mobile business. So now you can see that all the bullet points. You can almost use AWS cloud solution for any of your requirement. Whatever you are in finance domain, you are e-commerce domain, you are in IT domain, you are in any DevOps, big data, artificial intelligence, or machine learning, any domains you can use AWS solution, and they have a solutions for dedicated solutions of your problem. So next thing is one of the important concerns what each organization is having is like security. How AWS is secure. So basically, AWS is a multiple layer of the security mechanism. In that, you can set it up your firewall, you can set your security groups, you can assign the permission based on the keys, and many more things. Security measurement is there. So basically, AWS is secure, and I'm going to show you some of the demo as well. In that, we're going to talk about how you can set the security groups, how can you set the firewalls, how can you set all these networks, and inbound and outbound connections and things like that. So it's very much secure. Okay, so what are the infrastructure you have? So basically, if you talk about the infrastructure, and here you can see that the reason. Okay, so here they have these many reasons, and when we say reasons, like these many, in a simple word you can say like these many data centers, these many large data, I would say it would be wrong if I said that data center. It will be like a group of data centers, okay, at each region. So you have so many reasons which you can see on the screen right now, and for now we have around 14 reasons with AWS, and some of them are still coming up. We have one region in Mumbai as well, okay, and then other region in USA, Europe, China, and many a part of the other countries as well. So this is how they have the infrastructure located across the globe, and that is how where you can get this thing. So if you want if your team is located in India, or probably if your team is located in USA, you should select the region which is closer to your workplace. So that way you can latency, you can avoid the network delays and things like that. Okay, so how can we get started? So basically with AWS, so understanding the reason is very much important, because region is something like it's a kind of place where we have multiple data centers, and you'll not be knowing like where these data centers are, and then these are basically, and each region is separated with the it's like a different data center, I mean different logical units actually. So probably you may be able to handle whole infrastructure and access on the AWS services from the one log into the different reason, but actually each regions are separate logical entity in terms of computing, in terms of storage, in terms of networking, in terms of security, and many more things. Okay, so yeah, so now we are going to talk about how can we get started. How can we get started with AWS? So basically, once you are going to start, so first of all you're going to create accounts, okay, and then you're going to create accounts, and anyone can create account on AWS. They have a free tier schemes which I'm going to show you some demo on that as well, and then they require your credit card information. So it's like this. They want you to learn the platform. They want you to learn all the services on the AWS, which they provides free of cost, but until you use their services, which is coming as part of the free tier. If you are trying something beyond the free tier services, it will be charged. So basically, they have a very basic services which they are offering as part of the free tier, and you'll have to start using that to learn and get comfortable with the things. And once you realize the importance of the AWS and the power of the AWS, and once you started enjoying the services and then it started fulfilling your objective, then you can go for the more than free tier, because free tier literally will not help you to serve any purpose. Basically, you will not be able to use it for your production servers or for your any task, but only for the learning purpose, because they provide a very less computing speed for each of these virtual boxes. So again, yep, so you get accounts, anyone can get accounts, and then you have to insert the payment information, which will be a MasterCard or a Visa card. It should be credit card, and then you sign up for the desired services, and after that you'll have to get a keys, private keys and public keys, and which you'll get it, you can generate it automatically, and after that you can start building your infrastructures, deploying the application in the infrastructure, start monitoring it, and start doing the scale up and scale down based on your requirements. So that is how it can get started with this one. So till now, what we discussed, like we discussed about the cloud computing, we discussed about the architecture, we discussed some of the models, we also discussed about the advantage, and then we discussed about some of the things which we can do with the AWS. So before going further, do you have any questions here? Okay, so we have a question from the Vishwanath. In a region where there is only one availability zone, then where is the backup done? So basically, the region will have or must have at least 2 availability zones, and that's a requirement. So availability zone is something like a different location for your data centers, okay, in the same region. So each region will have a minimum of the 2 availability zone. Okay, for instance, a Mumbai region, it has a 2 availability zone, but it can have a more availability zones also. So whenever you create an instance or services in one region, one availability zone, automatically this get backed up and things like that on the other availability zone. So that way they have the information backed up properly, and you can get it as you need it. So there's one question from the Madhusudan, when they charge while using AWS. So as I said, you have many services, though you have more than 240 services on AWS platform. And there's one called free tier services. So if you're using the free tier services, that's not been paid. And that is also available only for the first 650 hours or probably 750 hours. Okay. After that, everything will be charged on AWS. Okay, so you'll have to look at it, while using the services, you have to carefully look at it, their services, and you have to also understand the terms and conditions, whether the services which you're using is a free tier or not. Okay, if it is not a free tier, then you should you should be very careful while using those services if you don't want to pay for them. Okay, so there's one question from the Samulai. What is available in the free tier? So I'm going to show you this demo again in some time. And free tier, which they provide the basic machines, basically basic server, which you can configure with a minimal CPU, minimal RAM, and minimal storage. So probably you might not be able to use it for your server requirement, but you'll be able to use for the learning purpose, so becoming very familiar with the AWS platform and so on. Okay. Okay, so this one question from the Randir. Is there any possibility if the team changes to the different country to avoid the latency? I couldn't get your questions, what you are trying to say, like if T changes the different country to avoid latency. So let me tell you, once you create accounts at AWS, you can create you can use the AWS resource and in any of these reasons. Okay, any of these reasons. But with the saying that all these reasons are separate physical entities. So you will not, it's like if you want to have a same network with the two different reason, same servers and all, you might not be able to get it. You have to do some more, much more work on that. But these are different isolated logical environments, and you can get it. So Biswanath, will you be covering the DevOps topics today after AWS? No, we are going to talk only about the AWS today, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the DevOps things. So I'll talk about it. Okay. So now back to the demo. So now I'm going to show you the demo on that, and I'm going to use one of my accounts here. So first thing, as I said, you're going to experience it here. I'm going to log in. And I have accounts here already, so I just logged in. And once you log into your accounts, okay, and you will get something like this. So you'll see that, right? Here you have all the services, which you can see it here. I click on the box, and then here you have all services, and inside that all services you have a compute section, you have a developer tools, internet of things, storage, database, networking and content delivery, management tools, some of the reportings and monitoring tools and things like that, security, identity, compliance, analytics related to the big data, artificial intelligence related to the machine learning and things like that, business productivity, messaging, application services, mobile services, and app streaming and desktop streaming and many more things. So these are the sections you have it, and accordingly you have a solution. So now if you want to check it out, how you can get started. So basically you have to start with one of the models, like you want the servers, you want the virtual machines to be up and running. So how can you get it? So one of the services which we use for the get the virtual machines in the easiest way, we use the compute and we use the EC2. And this is the place where you get the virtual servers as many you want. You want 1, you want 10, you want 1,000, you can get it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I have got these accounts, I have inserted my credit cards, I have logged in into this. I got this dashboard after this verification of the email IDs, and this is the dashboard. You're going to see that, and everyone is going to get the same dashboards, and anyone can register at the AWS platform. It's not only the accessible will be given only to companies. Anyone can register on this platform. So now I am going to get the servers up and running. So I would require some of the servers so I can work with it. So what are you going to do that? So you're going to start with, and I'm going to convert that into the steps basically. So first thing, you're going to use the EC2, Elastic Computing 2 version, okay, and in that you're going to create a virtual machines. So let's say virtual machines I want to create with RHEL, and I want to give 1 GB of RAM, probably 30 gigs of hard disk, okay, and then probably one CPU. So I defined this is the VM which I needed, and this is the decisions you'll have to make it. Virtual machines I want, the servers I want with RHEL operating system, RAM should be 1 GB, hard disk should be 30 GB, and 1 CPU. So what I'm going to do to get these machines up and running, I'm going to click on the EC2. Okay, and now here you're going to click on the launch instance. Okay, so you can see that this is the, if you click on the EC2, you will find a lot of options, you know, 2 running instance, 0 dedicated host, 0 volumes, 2 key pairs, zero placement groups, elastic IP, snapshot, load balancers, security groups. So I'm going to talk about all of this, but let's get started at least first. Okay, so my requirement is very clear. We have so many features, we have so many functionality, we have so many services at AWS. You're not going to confuse with it, but let's stick to our requirements. And my requirement is we need a server with RHEL, 1 gigs of RAM, 30 gigs of hard disk, 1 CPU. So I just click on the launch instance, and instance is something like EC2 instance you want to. Now this is the place where you have to decide which operating system you want. And if you look at this tab, left hand side, it says quick start. In the quick start tab, they have given you, AWS has given you so many operating systems. So if you look at it, this one, they have given you, Amazon Linux. They have Amazon also have one form of Linux. RHEL 7 you can use it. SUSE Linux you can use it. Ubuntu you can use it. Microsoft also you can use it 2016, and many more. So they have given you for many operating systems. One important thing which I have to look at it, whether that is available for the free tier or not. And if you look at it, this one message, free tier eligible. Free tier eligible, free tier. That means these operating system which you can see as part of the free tier eligible, you don't have to pay for that. So you don't have to pay for their license, or you don't have to pay for anything as such. But if you go beyond the free tier, so just let's check it out. This one is not free tier. Okay, this is not eligible for the free tier. So in that case, the cost will be added for your accounts. Okay, so look at this. Most of these are not free tier, but again we have got the one free tier here. Okay, so like this. So you have free tier, that means only for the trying for the free services, but if there's no free tier, it will be chargeable. Again, quick start has been given by the Amazon. What about the my AMIs? So when I say AMIs, it's basically nothing but the Amazon machine image. Okay, so it's called Amazon machine image. So if you do not like any of these and you have some customized image, you can have it here. Okay, so as of now I have not created anyone, so I don't have it, but you can create your own images on, you can keep it as well. So you bootstrap using the quick starts and create your own images and keep it under the my AMI. So next time you don't have to create the same thing again and again. You can use it your own images from this place. As of now we have none. Okay, you can also get the images, and when I say image, like operating system and their configuration, from the marketplace. So AWS has a marketplace where you can get the n number of images from the marketplace, and these marketplaces, some of them are free, some of them are paid, depends on what kind of software, what kind of services you want, what kind of configuration you want. Some of them pre-configured, they'll give you, some of them they will charge and stuff like that. Okay, so here you can get from marketplace. Here we call it a community AMIs. Community AMIs is like a complete given by the AWS community, and they have created a VM based upon some specification, and then they have converted into AMIs, popular AMIs, and then they have given to you. So you can use that one also, and you can look at it. You can filter it out, all this operating system from the left hand side. You can look at it, and then architecture with a 32-bit, 64-bit, and things like that. And EBC, yeah, anyways, I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so this is the things which we have it. Now let me click on the quick start, back to the tab which we were having, and now I just said my requirement is to get the RHEL. So now I have RHEL, and I select, and it's a 64-bit RHEL 7.3, which is a kind of latest, and then I'm going to click on it. And this is this image ID. That's important. So select. Now here they want you to select what is the processing speed you want. What is the processing speed you want? So here again, if you look at it, here you have a family, general purpose type, what are the configuration, CPU, RAM, and kind of storage we want to talk about again. So what kind of instance type you want it. So here if you look at it, you have only one instance type which is free tier eligible. Okay, apart from this, whatever you created, it is going to charge you. Okay, and again the charge the cost estimations, you can get it your own. There's a calculator which is available on the Google, and based upon the usage you can get analyze how much it will cost you for the user. Okay, so this, if you use this version, is going to cost you. But if you use any of these versions, which is small, medium, large, X large, and all this stuff, is going to charge you. But the thing is, with this T2 micro, you have a 1 CPU and 1 gig of RAM. Okay, so which is something like you cannot use for your production server because 1 gig of RAM is nothing, right? So let me get started with this machine only, and I click on the next. And now here it is asking you how many number of instances you want, whether you want 1, 2, 5, 50, 5,000. It's asking you how many of you want it. As of now, let's say I would like to have only 2. Okay, and then that's all. Now this is very interesting feature. And here I got one message: you may want to consider launching these stands into the auto scaling group to help the maintain data. So this is just tips which will give you. Now purchasing options. This is a very exciting feature what we have with AWS. And here it says request spot instances. So when you say request spot instances, it's like this. If you click on this, then there's no guarantee you will get this 2 instance. There's no guarantee. So this spot instance is like a bidding. Okay, it is a bidding. You're starting the bidding. Like what happens? Let me tell you in a different perspective. Amazon, every time in each region, they make available some of their infrastructure as part of the bidding process. Why? Because if they see like my utilization is very low, I'm not getting the right number of users to utilize my existing infrastructure, so some part of their infrastructure they make it free of cost, almost free of cost, not 100% free of cost. Like let's say if you are charging 1 rupee for the one machine, okay, so in the spot bidding you are paying 10 paise or something like that. I'm just giving you a figure just to make you understand the situation. So part of their infrastructure in each region they make it available for the bidding process. And here is the case: if the number of 2 server is not very much important for your production instance or for your having dependency, you can bid for that. And trust me, you will pay much lesser than that what usually you will have to pay. But as of now, I don't have to worry about, because it's already I'm using free tier. But sometime what you need, sometime you need a big data processing, artificial intelligence, where you need a tons of CPU immediately. But again, your organization set the limitation, like you cannot cross this budget. You have a limited budget for that. So what to do about it? So in that case, you can use this request spot instance. You just want the processing speed, so you get it at the very lower cost, provided Amazon has this kind of infrastructure available in that bidding process, and you get it. So in that case, you have to select it. But as of now, it says there is no spot capacity for the instance type 2 micro in availability zone. Simple logic is simple, because anyway it's free, and again in this availability zone they are not providing this feature. So that's very much fine. Okay, now next option is networking. So what is this? Okay, so let me tell you, this is one of the very exciting features. So now everyone who gets the accounts at AWS, everyone by default they have a network set up for their all of their servers. So basically you are getting into the accounts and you are configured with you are pre-configured with one of your network setup, which is done by the Amazon. So that means your network is different from the other networks. So if you have hundreds of accounts, thousands of accounts on the AWS, and even though if you are using the same availability zone, same data centers, your networks are different. Maybe you are in the same region, maybe in the same data center, maybe you're same in server, same physical servers, but still you will not be able to see others' data. Why? Because here you have a virtual private network which has been configured for the each accounts by default. So at least one virtual private network will be configured, and that you cannot delete it, you cannot avoid it. By default you'll have to respect their network. So that way there's a beauty here, because that way your data is not being shared with other users' data, though they are into the same availability zone, same data center, same servers also. Only this makes them, your data and their data, different on the different network. Okay, so VPS. So let me tell you, you can create your own VPS basically. You can create as many network you wanted, and you're going to create a subnets accordingly as you want it. And here you can see that we have around 3 availability zone. You can see that EU West, EU West 1B, 1C and 1A. So basically as of now I'm trying in the Ireland region, and that's the reason I'm having 3 availability zone. If you go and try the Mumbai region, which is a little bit more costlier than the Ireland region, there you can see the two availability zone basically. Okay, so this is the stuff. So again, in order to set up the VPC, subnets and all this stuff, you need to understand the basic of networking, and probably in that case you'll be able to do properly. Okay, so now you have got the network, which is by default I have got it. Subnets, let it go with this default subnets. And here if you auto assign public IP, so here if you make it enable or disable, it's up to you. So I'm going for the enable options, and here IAM role. So I'm going to talk about this IAM role again, and again I'm going to talk about the public IP as well, because we want to discuss about the elastic IP address and things like that. But again, IAM role is something like this. It's like this. You have one account, okay, probably for your organization, and in your organization maybe 10, 15, 20 people are working together in your organization. So basically your AWS infrastructure is being managed by not only by you who's having the account owner, but also you guys have a database servers, you have IT servers, you have a DevOps servers, you have a build and release servers, you have a QA servers, you have a reporting server. So you have a sort of all this sort of infrastructure which is available at AWS. So the important thing is like, how can you give the dedicated access to each of these users? Because QA should not be able to access the dev servers, dev should not be able to access the DevOps servers, DevOps should not be able to access the operation servers, like that. So how can you set the privilege, authentication, authorization in AWS? So basically this is the way you can set it up. So you're going to set it up. As of now I have none. Okay, we're going to create it, but as of now I don't want to get into, but we will do that going forward. Okay, so this is the place where you're going to set the IAM role, and you're going to define like which user is having what sort of access and all the stuff. Okay, and shutdown behavior stops, let it make it. So it's like this. Once you shut down your VMs, what should be done? Whether you want to terminate the VM and stop. If you shut down it, and if you want this to be terminated, you have to select the terminate, and if you want to make them stop, you have to select the stop. So this is how it is. And monitoring. So this monitoring will be enabled once you want to monitor using CloudWatch. CloudWatch is another service is provided by the AWS, which can monitor your services, whether the service is up and running or not, your machine is up and running or not, CPU is adequately okay, RAM, storage, all sort of things, you know, it is going to monitor. So basically whether you want to enable for these 2 servers, you want to enable the CloudWatch or not, it's up to you. As of now I don't want to. Okay, and tenancies. So basically what kind of tenancies, and if you're going to discuss again this tenancies share dedicated in a while talking about the storage and things like that. Okay, so now we have discussed about what are the configuration we have, like number of instance, 2 purchasing options. I don't want to go for the bidding to reduce the cost, because anyways small is I'm paying free tier. Network I've got it by the AWS. I have not created any one subnets, got it from the network which I selected. I don't want the disable options. I should get the public IP address. I have no IAM role which will define the access mechanism to each of these services and things like that. And then I click on the add storage. So till now I decided the computing. Now next thing I'm going to decide what is the storage. And let me tell you, here you can add the storage. So basically in the last form which I selected, like a computing, like a CPU, operating system, RAMs and things like that, and how many servers you want to create it. But in this form you're going to select that how much storage you want to give to each EC2 instance, each servers basically. So by default, if you see that here, it says the device is going to be mapped at this location. Okay, this is going to create a snapshot of this name with this name. Okay, and basically what is the size which we have got it, 10, and what is this general purpose SSD. Again, we're going to talk about the storage in detail going forward, but here general purpose SSD, let's be by default. IOPS, output operation per second. Here you're going to also define like your storage, kind of storage type. So here it can vary from the 100 to 3000. So IOPS like input output operations per second. Okay, so quality of the storage you can select it. Okay, here you can also define what kind of, if you want the high IOPS, then you'll have to pay more than. But here is the case. If you are using the free tier account, then only the 30 GB you are allowed to use it. If you increase more than 30 GB, okay, for the general purpose SSD, then it will come out of the restriction of the free users tier eligibility. That means in another way you have to pay for it, and AWS deduct the money automatically from accounts. Okay, because while registration, you guys have given the credit card information. So now I'll go with the 30 gigs of hard disk, 30 gigs of storage by default with this, and done. Now next form is tagging, and tagging is one of the most important features what you have. Now let's say you are having thousands of machines and you want to tag, you want to give them name actually. So that way you can see that which is for the development, which is for the integration, which is for the staging, which is for the production, which is for the operations, which is for the IT, which is your application server, which is your database server, like that. Hell lot of scenarios, logical naming, logical groupings, you want to set it. And this tags will help you. Here you can set the key name and their values. And based on these tags, you can, probably do the queries later upon the time and then take our decisions on that. So this is one of the important features where you can say like, okay, this is my database server, or this is my Jenkins server, or this is Jenkins node, or this is my processing servers, or anything as such. Okay, so like that, or application servers like that. And I'm not going to set, as of now it's not needed. And then next one is security group. And this is where I told you like AWS is providing a very nice mechanism to store your, secure your infrastructure. And this is one of the ways out of many in order to secure the infrastructure. We have so many other ways like setting up your own VPC, setting up your private and public subnets, and many more like a VPN and many more things we have in this platform, at this platform. So basically you want to use it. But this is something like, when I say security groups, is something like a firewalls. So I'm sure you might have heard about the firewalls many times. Like firewall is where you open the ports, allow the port, disallow the ports, block the ports, and things like that. So this is something like that. Configuring the security groups. So here you can select the one which is existing, but you can create a one. So let me create a new one, security groups, and I'm going to name it skill speed. Okay, and I have skills, I have got this naming done, and description I'll put it like demo for skill speed. Done. Okay, so I've got created one new skill speed. I'm going to click on OK, but I have not, it's not been created. It's going to be created in some time. But the important things like what you want to open, what you want to block it. So if you look at that here, rules, you can see a lot of rules are there. if you see that RDP, which is with the 3389 default port, if you go with SSH, which is the 22 port, if you go with the HTTP, which is like 80 port, which is go with the HTTPS or something like that, which is the 343 port. So these are the popular ports which you want to set up, whether you want them to allow or not. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to allow two ports as of now, SSH, because I'm going to log into this machine, that's important, and one more rule I'm going to allow HTTP. So here I'm going to select the HTTP and 80 port. So here these two ports I want them to allow from anywhere. And here remember, you can also set that whether you want the range to be defined, like only few IP address subnet should be allowed to access these two ports. That also you can set it up here. You can provide the range here. But as of now, to go with it anywhere, okay, and that's the best way. Okay, so now I set this two port SSH and HTTP 22 and 80 respectively, and then I'm going to launch things. So this is the summary which I set it up. I set the free tier eligible T2 micro, 1 CPU, 1 gigs of RAM, EBS 30 GB, two ports I'm opening up, instance details are here it is, all this storage I have selected here as, and tags I have none, and launch. So once you launch, you have set it up everything. Remember, you've set it up the operating system. You have selected the processing speed, CPU and memory. You have selected the storage. You have selected all the sort of things like networks and subnets and everything you have selected. But important things like how can you access that machine? That's a question, like, okay, you got this machine and that's not there in your network because you are accessing those services through some of your machines which you are located somewhere in the USA, India or any part of the world and connected only via the internet. How can you access those servers? How can you access those machines? So there's a two ways. One is like a key ways where you can access those machines through keys. Another way is like through password. And as of now, we will not get into the password sort of things because that requires a number of other steps to be followed. But let's start with this keys concept. How can you access the AWS resources using the keys? And this is where you're going to look at it. And now you're going to start with the keys. So now if you click here, I'm going to create a new keys and I'm going to create a new keys with skill speed. This is my keys name actually, and then I have to download it and I'll have to keep it somewhere. And remember, this keys is very, very important because if these keys are being compromised, then anyone can access all of your servers without any issues, and they can do everything. So this keys has to be very secure. Okay, so once you create these keys, I got this and I'm going to copy here. And then I'm going to put it under the skill speed directory. I put it here and then I am going to launch it. Remember, this keys which I created and downloaded, which will work always to access all of these resources in future. Okay, so now it says your instance is now launching. These two ID which got created, this is the instance 1, this is another instance 2, and as of now done. And now let's click on the view instances. Now you can see that I had a 2 instance which was running in my box, which is this one. So let me rename this 2 instance and I would say old, and I'll make it this one old 2, old 1, let's make it. So I've got the 2 instance which was running earlier, and this is the 2 instance which I have created now. Skill speed 1, I'll just name it skill speed 2. So these 2 machines, you can see this is the T micro, this is the reason, this is running state, it's initializing, this is the public DNS address which you got it, these 2 are IP address, key name which I set it up, and then which I downloaded. This is the keys using that I can access, and monitoring is disabled. When did I launch, and what are the security groups it's falling? So it's falling under the skill speed. So I created a new security group in which, if you remember, I have two exceptions, one for HTTP 80 with 80 port and SSH 22 ports, and then everything is good. So now we got these machines up and running. Okay, so next stuff is how can you access it? How can you access these machines? So one of the ways you should know, if you want to know that username, that's important because you have got the keys but you don't know username and you want to know the username. So username keep varying actually sometimes, not always. Usually it is EC2-user, but sometimes they do change that. Sometimes you find the administrator as well, and sometimes you find something else. So the best way to get this stuff, click on the instance, go to action, click on the connect, and see that. These are the steps you'll have to perform in order to access these machines. Okay, so remember, this is the SSH protocol using I and the PM file which I downloaded, and this is the host name. Host name or IP address, it can be anything. Okay, host name or public DNS and this is the username, EC2-user. Okay, so this is the way you can access using SSH using the keys which you have downloaded. Okay, but normally you do not do SSH, you do something else, and what you do, you use the PuTTY. So there's a different way to try it out using the PuTTY. So I'm sure how many of you are using PuTTY rather than SSH? Can you just tell me? Everyone almost must be using the PuTTY or something like that, right? Yeah. So like this. So now if I'm going to try it out, because if you are using SSH, you can use this command, it will work perfectly fine without any issues. You have a keys, you have a public DNS address, everything you have it, but we are going to use the PuTTY. So I open up this console only to know what is my username, and my username is EC2-user. You can see on my screen. So now I've got the username, which is EC2-user, and now I am going to open up. So remember, in order to use the PuTTY to access these machines, you have to convert PM file to PPK file, and that's important. Okay, so you have to convert PM file to PPK file. So how can I convert that PM file to PPK file? So basically in this case there are many utilities which is available, but one of the other utility which is we have like PuTTYgen. Okay, so PuTTYgen will help you to convert the permission file to PPK private file. Okay, so I'm going to use the same thing. So let's use it here. I've got the PuTTYgen here, and I'm going to conversations, import keys, and my keys are into skill speed. Here is my keys, and then I import it, and then save the private key. Yes, and I'm going to save the skill speed, this time PPK. Okay, so now PPK. So now just for your confirmation, we have got the PPK file here. So we got the PPK file, and now that's what it was required for the PuTTY. Now I got the IP address as well, so let me get the IP address. You can use this host, public host name or IP address, any one of these will work. So okay, so that's not a problem. I have got this IP address, I have got the PPK, everything is done. So here it is, the information, username, EC2-user, key, you got the PPK file, and host name or IP address, which is this one. So now using these three information, I am going to log in using PuTTY. So let's open up the PuTTY console, and I'm going to use this IP address, host name, put it this host name, and then go to SSH, click on auth, and this is the place where you're going to give the PPK file. And go and locate the PPK file, and I have created under the skill speed directory, and it should be here, and this is the web. And now click open, and now it's first time it's asking you whether you want to add it. Yes, of course. And the username is EC2-user, and keys already I have passed it using auth, and now I have logged in. Okay, and why I was allowed to log in? Why? Because you remember in the security group I had opened 2 ports. One of them was like 22 for SSH, and another was 80 port for HTTP. Okay, so now if you look at it, I was doing SSH. I was allowed to do that because of I open up 22 ports. If I'm not open up, I would have not done the SSH here. Okay, and that's the reason I did SSH. Now you logged in using EC2, and you want to do some operation in this machine. So let's say like you want to do yum. First let's do the sudo and root. So I logged in as a root. So now you see that I have logged in as a root. Now I'm going to install something. So let me install httpd. So yum install httpd. httpd is like Apache web server, and you know that, right? So I'm going to install using yum utility, and those who are coming from the Red Hat background or CentOS background, they must be knowing like APT is a repository management system, and using that you can install, uninstall, manage the applications in RHEL and CentOS. So now you can see that I have installed the httpd in this application, and the application is here. Now I want to check whether HTTP is running or not. I did not run it, just the way to find it out. HTTP is running or not. It's not running. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the systemctl command, systemctl command, and start the httpd. httpd is a service name, and it's got started right now without any error, and you can see that. So remember, HTTP by default, okay, HTTP by default open up with the runs with the 80 port. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type the IP address, which is here, okay, and enter. So 80 ports you don't have to mention. Look at it. So it got changed. 80 ports I'm able to access, and cool. Now what happened if you go back? So now I don't want to allow the 80 port to be accessible. So what you should do that you should go to this place, and you should click on the security groups, and here you have a security groups which is skill speed. Click on the skill speed and security groups. You have to edit again, and here in inbound, here you allow HTTP. I am going to edit this one, and I am going to delete the HTTP, save it. So I'm just block the firewall, 80 ports. I don't want people to access 80 ports anymore. And now if I just refresh this page, it sees it's trying to connect, but it's not able to find the right resources. That means AWS has blocked the access. So security groups is one of the important features in which you can access the networks and security and many more things. Okay, so this is the EC2 introductions, and I'm going to talk about much more than this. But let me address some of your questions what we have. So I'm going to take questions from. Okay, so there's one question from the Barun. You said APT, but using yum in CentOS RHEL, but it's used in Ubuntu. Yeah, that's correct, Varun. APT is being used in Ubuntu, in Debian, and yum is being used in the RHEL and CentOS. So I have used not APT, I have used yum. Probably I might have said it APT because I am frequently using these two operating systems. So probably, maybe. Okay, so any other questions you have? Yeah, there's one question from Naga. How come we patch these OS whether they are Windows or Linux? How can we patch these OS whether they are Windows or Linux? So when we talk about the patching, so it's like patching, like you are updating the kernel. So if you look at the kernel modules update procedures, you'll be able to patch it. So it's not nothing much about it, because here in RHEL what you do, you basically update your yum repository and you get the new kernels installed and configured and compiled it, and then you reboot the machine. So that is how you do that. But in Windows it's differently. We do it through update manager. So these are the things which you can do that. In fact, in Linux also we do that through yum. So if you want to make sure that all the packages up and running, should be up and running with the latest one, so you do nothing but you yum update and then done, it's being done. So that way you can, so this way you can address the things. Now there's one question from the Randhir. EC2 user is a root user, can we lock it? No, EC2 user is not a root user. Okay, EC2 user is a user which has a pseudo privileges. Okay, so if you want to do some activity using EC2 user, you have to use sudo. But here what I did, I logged in as a root. No, first I logged in as a EC2 user and then converted my access to the root using sudo. So that way I did it. The next question from Anatony, how to import DB to the server? So importing is like this. Most of the questions are similar, I would say, in nature. Whatever you do with the real servers in your boxes, in the physical servers or in the virtual servers in your workstation, the same thing you do here. There's no difference, because these are the servers you have a complete control over here. So you do whatever you want to install, uninstall, do SQL dump, you want to export the DB, you want to import the DB, you want to copy some files, everything is remain same. The most important things is like you have an address, IP address, you have a username, you have a keys, and using that you can access the way you want it. Okay, so the way you want it. Okay, so next question is, can you please explain once again for Windows? So yes, I'm going to show you the Windows as well. I'm going to show you a demo on the Windows as well, and then we will see that. Okay, so just wait for some more time on the Windows demo. Okay, so how can we change? There's one question from the Varun. How can we change server region once creating it? This is important question. So once you have created machines in one region, you cannot migrate the same machine to different region. Okay, again I'm returning, you cannot migrate it. Again, what you can do, you can create a AMIs and you can recreate the infrastructure similar to the one which you created in earlier region, but both region, when we say region, is like a logical different entities. Everything is different. Okay, so you should not confuse with that. Okay, any other question? So there's one question from the Mukesh, does AWS provide auto-scaling? Yes, of course, because that's the reason. That's one of the most important reason we are using AWS. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I can see that I'll take up one more last question from Mukesh. Is there a limit of total number of instances you can create in the free tier? Yes, there is a limitation actually in the free tier, and again this limitation is not same for the every user. For me, I have set limitation for myself around 40, so that means I can create 40 free instance at once, and I can create and I can run at once. If I create more than 40, let's say 41, then it will not be allowed. So what you can do for this limit is different for the all users. So what you can do, you can open accounts, you can get the accounts verified, start using it. Once you feel like you need a more machines which is not allowed, so what you can do, you can go and talk to the support team, and which is here, support center. Okay, click on the support center and send them an email saying that I want to increase the capacity of my servers. Okay, and here you can create n number of tickets, create a tickets, and here you can say I want to increase the service limit, and they will do that based upon your authentication of the accounts. Okay, so now I am going to spend some time showing you the demo for the Windows. So till now what we did, we have done the Linux demo. I am going to repeat the same things in Windows, because in nature Windows are a little bit different than the Linux, because in Linux we log in using the SSH protocol, but in Windows we use the RDP protocol, which is completely different. So we need a little bit different things. So now I'm going to start with the launch instance one more time, and this time I'm going to select the Windows, and which is like a Windows Microsoft Server 2016 base, and here is the one I'm going to select. And here again I'm going to select the T2 micro with 1 gigs of RAM. I know it will be very damn slow, but this is what I was allowed to use it in this demo. So I'm going to use the 1 CPU, 1 RAM, 1 gigs of memory, and click next. Again the same thing what we have discussed already so far, and click on the storage, 30 gigs, add tags, security groups, and remember I don't have to create the security groups right now because I have already created one for the skill speed. So I'm going to use one for skill speed, launch, and here it says the warning, you will not be able to connect to this instance as AMI requires 3389 to be open in order to have access. And that's natural, because as I said, we access the Linux machine using the port number 22 for the SSH. RDP that runs on 3389, so that need to be open up. So this is a warning, you can still continue with it. Okay, and then I'm going to launch it. And the keys which I want to use it, the one which I have created for skill speed, which is here, and launch instance. Remember your port for this RDP is 3389, and which you have not opened up till now. So what you're going to do, meanwhile this machine is getting initialized, I am going to open up the port under the security groups, inbound, edit, add a port, and which is RDP 3389, and from anywhere save it. Done. So that's the one thing which I've done. Now I click on the EC2 dashboard, 5 instances running, one of the running instance which should be in Windows, and this is the Windows which is getting initialized. So I'm going to give the name, actually Windows. Done. So I've got this machine, this is the IP address, and I'm going to log in through RDP. So how do you log into the RDP? So you call the MSTSC. That's a way, remote desktop. When you say RDP, like remote desktop connection, RDP, remote desktop connection. And this is the place where you're going to type the public IP address, enter, click connect. Now you don't have a username and password. That's a point. How can you get the username and password? As of now you can see this initiating the remote connection. So basically this is going to take a little bit time because still is, I believe, is initiating it here. And let me try one more time. and if it's not allow RDP, then in that case there's one scenario which can be applicable here. Let me discuss. Here you see this, it's not allowed. So my system is almost up and running. I can see that, and I got the almost confirmations because, but the thing is I set it up to the machine first and then added the protocol later. Okay, and that's where these machines could not open up with the remote desktop connections. Okay, so there's some changes which has to be done during the initialization, and those things which was missed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly create one more instance. And I'm going to name it this one Windows 2, and I will wait for it. And remember, I got this IP address which is here, but I'm yet to get the username and password. So I'll wait for a few seconds because Windows is taking more time than than Linux, because Linux boot up very fast, but Windows boots up very slow. And on top of it, we have only 1 GB of RAM assigned to this, whereas we are running the Windows 2016, which is a high consuming operating system, memory consuming operating system. So we're going to wait for a while. Okay, so now I am going to try it out, this machine, and it's a Windows 2, and here it is. Let me copy this IP address. Strange. I'll wait for some more time. Still initializing. Yeah, so it's going to take some time in Windows, as everyone knows that. Now we got the IP username and password. So from where we're going to get the username and password? That's the question. So the same approach which we're going to follow, just click on the VM which you want to get the username password. Click on the second option, which is like a get Windows password. Okay, if you click on the connect also, you will get it the password, but if you want to get only the password, then you click on the get Windows password, and this is where you're going to decrypt. So as of now it says password not available. What are you going to do that? So you click on this connect, and then what you're going to do, you click on here is your IP address, this is your username, and here you have to get the password. So how can you get the password? First you have to upload your public key, and here it says please wait at least 4 minutes after launching the instance before trying to retrieve the auto-generated password. So now it's saying like we'll have to wait for 4 more minutes before we can generate the password of this machine, because as everyone knows, like it takes time. Windows 2016, we have only 1 GB of RAM and still processing inside it, so it's going to take some time while. So meanwhile, what we're going to do, I'm going to answer some of your questions, and then probably that will help you, and we can utilize the time to the maximum extent. So any questions which you have which you want to ask me? Any question? Okay, so the question, I'm going to get it from Mukesh Kumar. On the, okay, it's getting refreshed. On the scaling, auto scaling part, let's say, okay, I'm not able to read the question because it's moving so fast, and your question is getting bombarded with and replacing my earlier question. So let me just make it a little bit bigger, this window. Okay, so now I'm going to read out this. If let's say I have one app running on the 3 instance and all my 3 nodes go down, does AWS span up 3 more instances automatically with the application deployed? Yes. Okay, so you understood very clearly. What you have to do, you have to create your own AMIs, Amazon Machine Image, and you have to set into the auto scaling mode. And in this case, if you have set up the 3 servers and these servers is not responded by the and reported in the CloudWatch, EC2 AWS will automatically create the replacement for these machines and make it available. So that's called auto scaling. Okay, we'll have to configure it. So this is one question from the Murli Krishna. Once we've done the basic configuration, can we clone these instances? Once we've done the basic configuration, yes, of course, you can do the basically that's where that image is being created. You create one image, you run the one virtual machine server, you do whatever you wanted and convert that into the images, and that is what we do that, and we're going to show you that as well. Okay, so Satish, how can we cluster these instances? So again, when we say how, there's a hell lot of things which we need to do that, and so I would answer for time being, yes, you can do that, but how is, again, you'll have to learn many more things before answering these questions. This question from the Prashant: why did not the window work first time? And the reason was very simple. When I initiated the VMs of Windows, at that time the security policy which I had set it up without the port 3389 for the RDP. So that means while setting the Windows, it did not approve the RDP connection. So while setting up the VMs, what happens, it goes to this properties, okay, it goes to the properties, remote settings, and enable this place. And in that first case, it was enabled, do not allow remote connection to this computer. Next time when I did modify my security groups, it allowed it with this allow remote connection with this computer. So that way I got the access. And in the first instance, I could not get the access. Okay, so this is how it is. Okay, any other questions which I can see? Chandra, are you going to explain, just again, let me read your question. Are you going to explain even the EC2 container services? Are you going to explain even the EC2 container services? Yes. So it's not about the explaining the container services. You have to experience the container services, and you will not be able to explore and experience and understand the container services until you understand the container concept. Okay, so container is nothing but, here you are talking about the EC2 containers when you talk about then we talk about the Docker. Okay, so we'll have to understand the first container concept, how it is different from the virtualization, and what are the services we can use on the EC2 platform, and then you can try it out EC2 containers. So that will help you to understand. So Docker is again a lengthy topics, and I wish I could have got this time for the same as well, but we have a very limited time, and I will not be able to showcase the Docker front. I will not be able to showcase the demo on the Docker front, but what you can do, you can enroll for the next webinar, and probably you can advise the skill speed coordinator to launch some Docker container concept related webinar, and probably I'll do that in that session. Okay, so there's one question from the Sanjay. I missed the username part of the Linux login. So there's nothing great about it. I'm just going to repeat the same thing. In order to log in to your EC2 instance, no matter whether it's Linux or Windows, you need three information. You need a username. Here we have a password keys. You need a host IP address or host name. In this case, we have got the IP address and the username. So that three information you need, and for the Linux we use the PuTTY. We first convert the PM file to the PPK file and use the PuTTY, and then we log into this machine. Using the RDP, we basically do the RDP through the remote desktop connection, and for that we need to have the port open. Okay, that's how it is. Okay, so there's one question from the Varun. I had opted for the DevOps course, but how come I got enrolled for the AWS? I don't know. Okay, so Varun, probably you should speak with the coordinator of the skill speed, and they will help you with it. And we do have a DevOps webinar, which is tomorrow, same time. Okay, same time means 10 p.m. IST. So probably you may also attend the DevOps webinar. But AWS is one of the great platform which facilitate the lots of solutions, and which can solve lots of problem for the DevOps. So I believe you are in the right session, and learning the AWS is a great things as well. Okay, so next question is, can you please log in more time Linux instance? Yes, we are going to do that. We have time, and we have agenda already set, so we're going to do that. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop taking the questions more, because I have got the 4 minutes over, and I think I should be able to get these machines up and running, Windows, and here I'm going to connect with this machine and generate the password. And now it says like, if you want to upload the password here. So let's choose a file, skill speed, and PM file. We'll have to upload it and then decrypt the password, and this is the one. So we got the username and password as well for these two machines, and now I'm going to use the same thing over here. So let me close here. Username, I just paste it, and then this is the password, which is lengthy, but should work. And now you can see this certificates. Yes, continue, and now I got this access to this machine. Okay, and I know it's damn slow because of RAM is very low assigned to this, and this is how you log into the machine. So this is the way we can get the Windows as well as Linux machines up and running using the EC2. So what I'm going to do, we have got the good amount of information we spent to get the servers up and running with the EC2 instance. And so let me cover some of the things which we have got this with PPT as well, so that way it will help us to get in line. So now we have got the introduction of the EC2, so that's the reason I showed you the demo first and then discussion later, because that way you can visualize the things in a much better perspective. So now you are in a position to understand the AWS in much better than before. So now you need a machines, you can go and try EC2, get the machines as you want it, increase select your operating system, select the RAM capacity, select the CPU number of CPU, select the storage, select the security groups, and you are done. and then you have a security groups where you can set the ports and things like that. So in a simple word, now you know that what is the EC2. Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, Amazon EC2 provides scalable computing capacity, virtual machine in the AWS cloud. It's simple, virtual machines in the AWS cloud. You can have as many virtual machines you wanted, and you can increase the capacity the way you want it. That's all about the EC2. Okay, so basically what is the more, let's try to understand more about the EC2. So it's available in the different locations, and when we say different location, like we have all the reasons where you can get the EC2. Okay, you have a different choices of the operating system, the families, you know, operating system families and things like that. You have many platforms, operating system supported. You can import and export the virtual machines. That's the beauty of it. You can, if you want your own machines to be there, and you can create your own AMIs, which we have discussed. You can integrate AWS, you can integrate EC2 instance with any of the other AWS services. Remember, AWS has a wide range of services, from the data center to the DevOps to the development team to IT operation team to the artificial intelligence, big data, machine learning, and many more solutions they have it. A database of so all these things you can integrate with. You can purchase the options based on your optimizations and things like that. So that's how. So basically, list of operating system supported. Yes, you know that by now. It supported almost all the operating system, but you have it. So starting from the Linux, all the flavors, and then Windows, all the flavors, and things like that. Okay, all the software get supported. So it supports. You can have as many software, whatever the software you wanted: SAP, LAMP, WAMP, Drupal, Joomla, XYZ, and many more things. So you can have it. Integrate with the other AWS services as easy as possible. You have a different model of the capacity in terms of CPU and RAM, and I have already shown you the demo, so probably it is now not having that much of importance. You can also define the memory, CPUs, and things like that. Here it is. So this is the place where we're going to define the storage, and you have two kind of storage. So where you have a high frequency inter-zone, which is where you can have a more IOPS, and SSD, which is the Amazon default storage type. Okay, and that's having a lesser IOPS, input output operations per second. Okay, so this is one of the things, like every instance is assigned with a private IP address. Remember, private IP address, which is a internal to the domain and servers. Okay, every instance also has a public IP address, which is you are using to access the machines. Okay, you can also assign each machine with the static IP address, that we call it elastic IP address, and that is basically paid services that you have to pay for it. Okay, so what happens, so once you got the EC2 machines, okay, up and running, and after that, if you stop it, and then if you start it again, you will lose the IP address, the one which you was assigned earlier, until you assign the elastic IP address. Okay, so because sometimes what happens, like you don't need a elastic IP address, you don't need a static IP address, you need a only internal IP address which may change. So that's not a problem. But sometimes you do need a the public static IP address because of some reason of hosting the HTTP services or something like that. So in that case, it will help you. And then you have a keys which I have shown you the demo, so which will help you to access the machines, and not only on the machines which you use for all the machines which you create with these keys. So it will allow you to access the same keys will work for the thousands of machines if you have created those machines using those keys. And then groups, which I have discussed, is nothing but a kind of firewalls where we can control the ports. We can open the inbound and outbound operations, and you can create exceptions, enable and disable the ports and their accesses respectively. So that is how it is, and like this. So now I hope you got it by now, like what is this EC2 instance and things like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to have let's say 5 or 10 minutes of, let's have a 10 minutes of break so I can grab some tea or coffee. And meanwhile, what we will do that, I will transfer this the control to the coordinator, skill speed coordinator, and probably he will be the one who can also help you to understand some of the questions and also help you to clarify some of the questions what you have it. So I'll have a 10 minutes of break and I'll be back in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, so are we having any coordinator from skill speed who can take a control and answer some of the questions of the participants what they have it? Manish, are you there in this call? Santanu? Okay, so no problem. So I think it's a great opportunity where everyone can go and grab some coffee or tea, uh, and then we're going to get connected in 10 minutes. So it's now 10:40, 11:40 for me. So I'm going to come back at 11:50, and then we're going to start the journey of AWS in the another 1 hour or something like that. Okay, so see you guys in some time. Okay, so I think let's get started. I hope everyone has got the cup of tea or coffee. Okay, so still I'm waiting for my access to be granted over the screen so I can show and share my screen, and I'm not able to see that. Are we having coordinator in? So can you please assign me the access? Okay, so guys, can you see my screen? I'm just, are you able to see my screen? Okay, great. Okay, so till now, what we did, we discussed so many things in terms of AWS, cloud computing, and most important things like EC2, from where we can get the virtual servers as many wanted in whatever the configuration we wanted, and we also learned how to get this the machines up and running and things like that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to experience some of the things, like we're going to uh, destroy some of the machines. So let's say I'm going to destroy these two machines, skill speed 1 and skill speed 2, and now let me destroy only one machine. So I want to destroy this machine, so I should not paying for this. So if, the moment I realize like the requirement for this server is over, I should destroy this, terminate this machine. So how can you do that? So you go to the action and click here and click on the instance state, and not stop, not reboot, but I terminate because I want to destroy this instance. I just do the terminate. So I just click on the terminate, and now it's saying shutting down, and after that it will be terminated in some time. But in this case, speed 2, what I want to just stop it. And remember, before stopping this instance, remember your IP address is 54. Let me rather copy, so I should not lose this IP address. Your IP address is 54.194.205.152. And what I'm going to do with this machine, I'm going to stop it. Okay, here it is. That's all. So another skill speed 2, what I did is stop it. And third machine, what I'm going to do, I'm going to reboot it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to also note down this one, and let's make it stop. And this IP address, which I'm going to make it reboot, remember, reboot. Okay, so third one which I'm going to do is reboot. So I'll click action, instance state, and reboot. And now you're going to observe the difference between the terminate versus stop versus reboot. So now you see that I terminated, that means I lost that VM. You lost VM, you lost the data, you lost every configuration, whatever you did in that machine. It's like a delete, permanent shift delete actually. So permanently. You will not be able to recover it after you terminate the instance. You will not be able to recover any data inside that VM. Okay, it's lost permanent. Okay, but what about if you stop it? So now I just stop it, and I just lose the public IP address. Okay, I just lose the public IP address. And now if I want to start it, I will get the new public IP address. Okay, so that is the thing. So what is the observation? If you stop it and then you start it, then you get the new public IP address. That's the thing. So now you see that this IP address which you got it after the stopping it. So after the stopping it, you got this IP address, and this IP address and this IP address which you had initialized earlier, both are different. So you got the two different IP address, and that's the thing. So you have to stop it, and consider whenever you stop it, the IP address will be changed. But here is a scenario. I just rebooted the Windows machine, but if you look at it, the IP address is not changed, right? IP address is not changed. So here is, once you reboot any EC2 instance, then IP address will not change. So IP address will be changed only in case you stop and then start, not in case of reboot. So that's the catch here, you'll have to remember. So now what we have done, we have got the word termination and remaining are rebooted and things like that. So cool. Now what are the other options we have it? So considering like skill speed 1, which is terminated, let's try skill speed 2, and now go to the action, and here you can see that instance settings, and in that you can add many things. So you can see that you can add more tags, you can attach to auto scaling. So many of the questions is related to whether three of my server got down, so if automatically if it will down, what is it going to do? So of course you're going to work with the auto scaling group, and which is not a part of this webinar, but we'll be doing as part of the another training as well. Okay, and here you can see the logs, you can see the screenshot, you can see the user data and things like that. Now someone asked like, how can I create my own AMIs? AMI means Amazon Machine Image. So that way you configure once, and then after that you just want that instance n number of times, 100, 250 or something. So how can you create it? So considering my skill speed 2, okay, skill speed 2 is the T micro, and it's a Linux RHEL 7.3, and considering this is my VM, which is stable, and it has all the pre-built configurations and all, so you can create images actually. So you can create images. You can have image name, let's say skill speed template, skill speed template, AMI, something like that. So that way you can create your template and then create an image, and then that is how. So now next time whenever you create an image, you can use that image rather than any public, community or Amazon provided images. So how can you do that? Just go to the launch instance, my AMIs. So now earlier there was no my AMIs, but here you created the AMIs, and now you can select this one, and remaining options are same. Okay, so that way you can also try your own AMIs and things like that. Now what you're going to discuss, so I'm going to show you some of the more options what you have here. So let's discuss about skill speed 2 and select networking. So here if you want to change the network securities groups, remember security groups is nothing but a firewalls. Okay, so something like a firewall where you configure the ports, allow and disallow, enable and disable the ports actually. So you can change the firewall of these machines which you have configured. So suppose considering you have configured one firewall for one machines, you want to change it to other firewall, you can do that. You can also attach to the network interfaces, which we have not talked about it as well. And you can also enable the security, enable the monitoring. CloudWatch is one of the monitoring services which AWS provides. Using that you can monitor the health of the services, CPU, RAM, storage, up and running or something like that. So you can try it out all the stuff. Okay, so these are the basics of the AWS EC2 instance services which you have got it, and by using EC2 instance you can get the desired virtual machines the way you want it, the number of you want, what configuration you want, what operating system you want. So all these things you can configure it. So I'm sure there is no confusion anymore around the EC2 instance and things like that. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to spend some time, 5 minutes of time frame on your questions before moving on to the other topics. So do you have any questions before getting to the another topics? Any question? Okay, so this is a question from the Mukesh Kumar. Does it provide some sort of F5 or load balancing services that can front end my n number of machines running on. Of course, yes, this is one of the beauty where while setting up you can set the load balancers also. Okay, so you can set the load balancers, and again it's a part of the networking concept, so which is not a part of this webinar, but it will be a part of the other training of the AWS. Okay, so there's one question from the Pawan. We are accessing the instance remotely. How can we access them from the console? So when we say console, that means I couldn't understand what do you mean with the console. Can you redefine these questions again? When we say the consoles, like you mean to say like the application is running on 80 port, 8080 port, or 8090 port, or something like that, then again you have to do nothing but open the port and then run the application in the machine with that particular port and open that server. So that is how it is. Next question is we are accessing then no, there's a question from the Madhu. You are going to share this session videos and PPTs. So basically you're going to get the information, all this information from the skill speed coordinator, and probably he'll help you with it. Okay, so there's one more question from the Satish. Can you please explain me why IP is changing? Why while stopping the instance and not while reboot? Yeah, that's the thing actually. So it's a behavior of the EC2 instance. Okay, it's a behavior. Here what we are doing right now is we are using the IP address. This is again IP address, public IP address. You can say it may be a static IP address if you do not shut it down these machines. What Amazon is doing, they are having the pools of IP address and they are providing you these IP address free of cost. So they say like you can use the random IP address as long as you want to run the VMs, I will give you the access. But the moment you stop the VMs and start it again, then I'll have to give the another IP address to that assigned to that VM, so you can access those machines, but not the same. But in case if you want the static IP address for these machines, always what you're going to do, you're going to get the elastic IP address. Elastic IP address is a permanent IP address which will never change. But again, that will be cost added to that. So if you want to get the elastic IP address, you have to scroll down this EC2 instance and go back to the place where we have networks and security, and you have to click on the elastic IPs. Okay, and here you can buy as many elastic IP addresses you want. And after you buying this IP address, you can allocate this IP address to the each virtual machine, each EC2 instance the way you want it. Okay, so in that case, no matter whether you reboot or stopped, your IP address will remain same. Okay, so that is the one of the way Amazon is selling their IP address, and you are paying for that. Okay, so I hope that answered your question, Mukesh. Okay, so any other questions? So it's how the is more advantage than the cloud service. Okay, so there's a question from the Bhaskar Rao. He's asking, hi Rajesh, how access AWS has more advantages other than the cloud services? So when I say like advantages, it's very difficult to do the comparison, because more or less all the platform, which includes like Amazon AWS, and then Azure from the Microsoft, and Google Cloud, which has come nowadays, almost they provide something similar infrastructure. But the thing is like Amazon is a very old player in this market, very old player in this market, and their products is much more mature and much more popular and much more easy to learn, because of the lots of learning materials are available here. So you have all these things. Compared to that, Google Cloud, which is primarily selling the services around the Kubernetes and Docker containers and all, and the top of that you can have as many servers you wanted, but again the kind of services being offered by the Amazon is not being by them. Google Azure, again you can get the something similar infrastructure with the different naming conventions and terminologies, but Azure is much cheaper than the AWS. The reason is like Azure is launched recently in last few years, and AWS is a major player from last many years. So AWS is popular and Azure is not popular. Again, in terms of, let's say, security, scalability, in terms of performance, in terms of things, it's again, you get everywhere the same thing. I mean, you ask for 10 gigs of RAM, you get the 10 gigs of RAM. You ask for the processor, speed, storage, you get everything the same as you want to get it in Azure or Google Cloud or on Amazon. It's just like pricings are different and maturity levels are different. Okay, so that is how. Okay, so there's one question from the Satish. Are there virtual machines? Are these virtual machines hosted on a hypervisor, Hyper-V, or EXX or something like that? Satish, this is a kind of their secret information and AWS would not like to reveal it. So I have no idea because AWS has not revealed this information. This is a secret, their business secret actually. So why how come they are facilitating such a large infrastructure? What are the hypervisor, whether they are using hypervisor or something else? We have no idea about it. But I can tell you for the sure they are not using ESX and hypervisor like that. They have something their own which they have developed and they have kept it separate. So that information is not publicly available, I believe. Okay, so any other questions before you want me to get into the other services of the AWS? Okay, so there's the last question I'm going to take now. For now, question from the Bhaskar Rao. Why are financial clients worried to move to cloud? They can use the private cloud, right? So here is the things. Here is the things like yes, of course you can create a private cloud. You have a software right now available. Many open source solutions are available. You can create a private cloud. But the things like the most important things like skill set. Whether are you having the right skill set in your organization or in the market, which you can find easily. Second thing, like if you have set up the private cloud network, you need require the human resources to maintain that network, maintain the infrastructure. So are you going to provide it? Whereas in the opposite direction, on AWS, you get everything. You don't have to maintain it. AWS is maintaining for you. Just to go and get it as many servers you want the way you want it. So on AWS, all the organization has become a user. They are using their services. But here, in case of the private cloud network, you are going to set up the network. So you're going to have the talent first. You're going to have the right set of the tools and infrastructure and servers and physical servers and things like that. And on top of that, you have to extend it, enhance it, auto scale it, and so many things, which again will cost you and is going to spend time. Right now, organization want to spend less time on the infrastructure, more time on their products, their services. So because there's infrastructure which they are going to spend time on it, that's not going to benefit them. So that's where they would like to move to the cloud rather than setting up the private cloud. Okay, so now let's get started and let's discuss some of the other features. What we have is module S3. So let me tell you, AWS has many products, many services, and basically 3 hours is too less for all these services. What we're going to do, we're going to try it out 2 more services basically. One of them are like Amazon S3, and one more which I'm going to try it out and the storage. So let me grab that PPT. And one of the thing is like we're going to try storage. Okay, so let me see if I have missed anything. I think I have not missed it. So let me start with this S3. Okay, so now S3 is one of the services where you can use for the storage. Okay, so as it says, Amazon S3 is secure, durable, highly scalable, object storage accessible. Object storage accessible via simple web services interface. So when we say object storage accessible, you have to be very careful and just understanding it. Okay, because there's a various kind of storage, and one of the storage is like object storage, in which you are storing the whole files as an object, whole file system as an object. So it restore and retrieve any amount of the data for use alone and together with the AWS services. So that is how. So what are the S3 features? So it's one of the features. Actually, let me tell you, in storage there are so many things which we have available. One of the component we have is like S3. S3 is durable, it is available, low cost, scalable, high performance, secure, integrated, easy to use, and many more things. So basically, as you can in a nutshell, it's a kind of place where you can store as many data, unlimited data, with a very less cost, with a high performance accessibilities and things like that, and it's very secure. So you can have it. And here we have a difference between the Amazon S3 and EBS. EBS I did not talk about it, but it's one of the other way, another way of the storage that is called a block storage, whereas S3 is your object storage. Amazon S3 is scalable, block storage EBS is not scalable. It requires, you can host the static websites and stuff like that with S3, but with ABS you can basically have all the database. So basically database you cannot have in S3. Database you can have with the EBS, PostgreSQL, MySQL, and many more. Okay, so that's the way around it. So while using it, S3, what you have to do? You have to create a buckets. So let me do one thing. Let me show you a demo first and then talk about these terminologies, because probably if I show you the demo first and then talk about the terminologies, then you might be able to correlate the things and it will make more sense to you rather than first talking about it. So now I go to the AWS instance, and here under the storage you can see that you have S3, EFS, Glacier, storage gateway, and so many things you have it. So I'm going to use the S3. S3 is one of the kind of the database, storage, not database, sorry. So I click on it. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a bucket. So in S3, whatever you want to store, you have to store inside the bucket. So you can have as many buckets you want. So bucket is nothing but a kind of place where you can put the n number of objects, n number of things. Bucket. Okay. So I'm going to create one bucket here, and I'm going to name this bucket, let's say skill speed, and create it. So now I've got the bucket created and says like this name is not available. So probably someone has already created this bucket, and probably me or someone else. So I got that new name, which is bucket skill speed 122. So now I got this bucket, okay, and now inside that bucket, now you have to store the objects, and storing the object is nothing but storing your files, okay. So how can you upload these files? You can upload the files. Let's upload the files, some of the files like manually. You can upload through the command lines also. You can upload through the APIs also. So there's so many other ways in which you can upload the files. And one of the things which I'm trying right now, manual base. So let me try uploading this PPTs file. Start uploading. And now you have these files. So you got these files, and you can store as many files you want. Again, S3 is very cheap, very scalable, very high performance, and things like that. So now you got this file uploaded, and you can do whatever you want. You can open this file, download it, you want to create more folders, and you want to upload more and stuff like that, you can make it public, so no access is required to access these resources. The important thing, like how can you access this bucket? How can you access this bucket? So you have to click on the skill speed 122 bucket. Okay, I click on it, and now I go to the properties, click on the properties, and now I have to put permissions. Here I select the permissions, and I want to define who should be allowed to access this one. So as of now, what I want to give the permission, so it should be available for the public users. Everyone should be able to access, not only me or someone else. Okay, so everyone should be able to access, upload, view, and edit permissions. Probably let's give it, okay, because it's not a harm for time being, but for you it will be harm for sure for if you're using it in production. Okay, and save it. So now I have saved this bucket. I have created a bucket, uploaded some files. Now I'm going to get the links. So how can you get the links? So now I am going to click on it, and I should get the address which is here. So copy this path. As of now it's not, it says, and I'm going to looking for the address. Yeah. So if I click on the bucket, here is my address. So now still it says access denied. Probably that I have to give the permissions again. Everyone, open, view, edit, save. Now I click OK and refresh. Now you see that file has come. So this way you can upload as many files you want in the bucket. You can give the permission at the bucket label or the label which is at the file label, and you can start using those files and things like that. Okay, so this is the one of the way you can store the file. Now you see that hell lot of functionality you can find in the right hand side. One of the things which is a permission, which I did talk about. What about the static website hosting? So this place is also very useful to host your static website. Remember, S3 is an object-based storage, not like a block based storage. So basically this will help you to host your static file, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and many more like that, not like a PHP or something like that, which require the preprocess and compiler. Okay, so this will help you to set up those. So what you can do, you can host as many static website, you can map it with it, and here it says do not enable website hosting, enable website hosting, and redirect all the website hosting like that. So here you have to set the index.html, error document 404 error or something like that, and you can set it up and you can start using it. So this is another features which you have it here. Now logging in this, you can see that who has is like a logging is like enabling the logging and trying to find out what has been done on my bucket. Okay, events. So in this case, you're going to find out what are the events which is happening. Like there's many services which is like a mail services, queue services, report services, and so many things which you can set it up. One important features which you have here is like a versioning. As I said, it is an object-based storage, so you can also do the versioning. Like one version, on the top of that you update the same files twice, then thrice or fourth. You can enable the versioning. So basically S3 is very helpful in terms of enabling the versioning. Here it will help you with the life cycle. As of now it's least used. Cross-region replication. So this is one of the features. So remember, as I said, one EC2 instance, if you have created one region, you cannot transfer to other region. But here in case, once you have a bucket in one region, you can replicate with the other bucket with these options like a class reason replication. So we can enable the versioning, and on top of that you can enable the replications as well. You can have as many tags you wanted and like that. So there's so many other functionality we have it here and the bucket. So basically in a nutshell, Amazon S3 is a kind of storage in which you can store all the object-based files, which is very cheap to store it here. It will do the versioning. It has a permissions defined, and you can make it available for any one of them which you want it. And it is highly scalable, highly available, and highly secure. Okay, so this is the one of the other way of the storing the storage on AWS. So now I'm going to spend some time on answering all the questions. Before that, if you want to remove the bucket, you just click on it. Basically, it's the bucket is a chargeable basically. So if you want to remove it, just click on it, bucket, create, and skill speed. So remove this one. Delete. Okay, so I'm done with it. Now I should get rid of this name later. It's not required for time being. Okay, so now I'm going to answer some of the questions. What you have is related to the storage with S3. Okay, so there's one question from the Randhir. How can you please show how to upload from the command line? So there's a AWS APIs which is available. You have to try it out. What you're going to do, you're going to set it with the access keys, token, and all this stuff information, and with the keys, and you're going to upload the files with the command line. So again, probably we have no great amount of time where which you can set it up and then show you. But of course, I can show you in the upcoming sessions of the AWS. Okay, so any other questions related to S3? Okay, so there's one question from how to integrate EC2 to S3 instance. So when you want to integrate from the EC to S3, so remember S3 you get a URL, HTTP or XYZ, something like that. You get a URL, and this is something like a URL. Okay, this is your URL which you get it. So basically this path you can use to upload, download, or any files, not only from the EC2 but from the anywhere. Okay, from the anywhere. So you can use it this one. Okay, so what are the different types of storage? So I'm going to talk about this stuff, these questions in some time, and probably I'll also discuss about the block storage and things like that in some time. Let me see that any other questions. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce you one of the things which we have. Okay, so one last question which I'm going to take it from the Anatony, where should I get name servers? So I couldn't understand this question. Name servers means you want to set up your own name servers, right? In that case, what you're going to do, you can create your own virtual servers. In that you can configure the name server software and basically dedicate all of your networks accordingly. So it's a lots of planning you have to do in order to get it done on the EC2. It's not like it's very difficult to do that. It's just like you need to know how to do that. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to spend time on that, understanding the kind of storage, because many of your question which is related to the kind of storage what you have it. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to answer some of them, and let me open up my PPT for the storage. Okay, so now let's just understand the storage. So when we talk about the storage at AWS, you have a various kind of storage. One of the storage kind you have, which we call it infederal storage, which you, if you experience this kind of storage with all of your EC2 instance which you have created, you got this kind of instance, this kind of storage. Okay, so if you see that here each VMs, you got this storage which is nothing but this storage actually, the one which I am talking about. Okay, and this is basically it's basically for the instance store. As you have created EC2 instance, it is basically for the instance store. Okay, this is a temporary block level storage. Okay, when you say like a block level storage, like in a simple word, it's like a file which you store in the block level storage, like a normal hard disk. That's like a block level storage. Okay, normal hard disk which you have in your laptop or in your desktop, that's your block level storage. So basically this is the block level storage where you can run the operating system, any database services, any programs you can install it, and a number of things you can do that. But object level storage, like the place where you can store the files, and the files can be accessible through HTTP services or like a file FTP services like that or something. Okay, so in this ephemeral storage, it's a temporary block storage. It is a free storage which you get with each EC2 instance. So remember, you have got 30 GB of the storage with each of these EC2 instance. So that is basically is a free. Okay, so in this case, data is lost when instance is terminated. So as you remember, we have terminated the EC2 instance and we lost everything. So from the AWS perspective, there is no SLA actually. So even though if you lose any data, AWS is not taking any guarantee over those data. Even though if you are using those things, AWS is not taking up. So basically what you're going to do, it's best practices to use the EBS system. Again, it's another kind of storage which you're going to, I'm going to discuss in a while actually. Okay, so basically there is no SLA for this kind of storage. Access speed is not guaranteed. This storage only is given by the AWS just to run your operating system, nothing else. You should not store any data. Even though if you're storing, it's get lost, AWS is not responsible for that. Okay, and then like that. So I did show you the demo while setting up the 30 gigs of hard disk. So I think that is done. Now this is the second kind of storage which we have it, and I also show you the demo. So now this is the S3. This is the object-based storage. Okay, this was introduced in 2006. Okay, you can access this storage using HTTP and HTTPS only. Okay. Okay, so remember the block level storage you can access through. It's just like your storage in your laptop or something like that. You can store in this storage, S3 storage, you can store the audio, video, images, you can store the replications, backup, and many more things. The bucket size is unlimited, but the object side, and when we say the object size, like each file size has to be maximum 5 TB. Like each object size should not be more than 5 TB, and 5 TB I think is too much. But you know, this is a very helpful once you are trying to process the files which is coming from the NASA or something, NASA, and like that. So they have a files which is in a terabytes, and all these files has to be stored, have to process, all the images has to be stored, and so many things, videos they get it, and number of terabytes of videos they get it as well. So basically these kind of requirements can be served here actually. Okay, again, price on storage used and transfer out. So it's basically the price are defined based on the use and then how much download you do that, not how much upload you do that, how much download you do that. Based on that, file is being decided, cost is decided. And it's not a file system, it's an object based storage, and SLAs for this S3 is 99.99%. Basically, all the services which AWS provides, they have SLA something somewhere close to it. Okay. Another kind of storage which we have like a EBS. In that we have two types of. Okay, this is again we are discussing about the S3. In this we have a standard storage which is with the basically it's the same thing, but the thing is like the SLA is different here. So let's leave it this one for time being, and I did the things. Third kind of storage which is the EBS. EBS is nothing but a kind of block storage. This is a real storage actually. So if you want to store your database or application services or any sort of things you want to do, you use these services, and this is not free of cost. Remember, the first kind of storage which you use, which was coming free of cost as part of the instance creation. But this is the third kind of storage which we have to create it and mount it. You'll have to create it and mount it. That's the way we want to use it. And this is not accessible through internet. Okay, you have to mount it. It's a first instance file system for the EC2. Okay, and like that. So, and it can be transferred between the availability zone. It supports the incremental snapshot, and it can EBS leverage the S3 for the snapshot storage. So what you can do, you can have the EBS snapshot stored at S3. So that's the one thing. And provision IOPS. So when we say provision IOPS, you can define the IOPS operation like input output per seconds operation on this. So if you want the more IOPS, you have to pay more. If you want the less IOPS, you have to pay less, like that. So now I am going to show you this demo, because I have shown you the first two demo and third demo which I'll have to show you now. So EBS. So what you're going to do, you're going to, for the EBS, you're going to click on the EC2 AWS services, and under the storage you're going to select EFS. Probably this not here, so you'll have to select the EC2 itself. I'm looking for the EBS, so we're going to get it. You're going to scroll down and click on the volumes. If you see that elastic block store, okay, and here you're going to click the volumes. And now you can see these are the volumes which was created. So these volumes are ephemeral volumes, like these are the temporary, which will be SLA is not given, AWS is not giving any SLA for these volumes. Basically this is the ephemeral actually. But now I'm going to create a EBS volumes. So create a volume. So now you're going to define what is the size. So basically 100 gigs of size. And here you can define your own speed, provision, general purpose like SSD, which is from the AWS. But if you want to more IOPS, you have to pay more for that. But again, you have many magnetic storage you want throughout the optimized HTTP, cold HTTP, and many more things. Specifications are being given. But let's go with the general purpose SSD, and then 100 gigs of space. And which availability zone I want, because I'm using Ireland region, so I have a 3 availability zone. Let's keep it in 1B, okay. And snapshot ID, I don't want to snapshot this one as of now, okay. So let's create it. Let me refresh, and now you see that this volume has been created, okay. There's no snapshot for this. So I have not created snapshot. Snapshot is like taking a backup automatically to different availability zone. So if you have created in A, snapshot will be taken in B. If you have taken B, snapshot will be taken in A, like that. So this is a nice way to take a backup. So now I've got this storage. Now I have to attach to it. How can you attach it? So if you want to attach to any EC2 instance, so click on it. Click attach volume, and now select the instance type. So you'll have to select the instance type. So I don't remember the instance type. So what I'm going to do, cancel this, go to the EC2 dashboard, file running instances, and I'm going to get the instance ID. So probably I want to attach to skill speed 2. This is the machine instance ID. So I'm going to attached to this side. So copy it, go to the volume, select the volume which you have created with 100 gigs, attach to it, and then search the instance type, and it should be getting it. And here is the keys actually. So if you remember here, it says in EU West 1B. So the instance should be, because I created the storage, EBS storage volume in the EU West 1B. So my instance also should be in EU West 1B. Okay. So as of now, I think there is no instance available in that zone, and as I correctly said, everything is in one way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create in one way this time. So let's create a volume, new volume. I'll delete this volume because I don't need anymore. The availability zone has to be in the same things. So 1A, I'll select it 1A. Creation is done. Let me refresh it. And now I'm going to attach 2. And now I'm going to search this. Yes, I got it. Here it is skills put 2, and the mount should be happening with this storage, this location, and attached. And now after that login, you will see 100 gigs of space mount at the certain location, which during the location we did it, so, which is here dev stf. This is the location we are going to access 100 gigs of things. So now you should store all the files, database, schema, applications, anything which you think is important for you. You should store in this mount rather than in the system default mount. So that way, AWS is taking the guaranteed services like 99.99%. Your data will be backed up, secured, optimal, available, and scalable. So it can be possible. So now it is a thing. So now you can see this attached. Now you log into the instance which is skill speed 2, and you will be able to access that 100 gigs of storage at this level. So with this, let me recap the stuff in terms of storage. In storage, you have 3 kind of storage. One is like mFRL, which you get it with each instance, which is the default given by the AWS. Second is the S3 storage. Third one is the EBS, which I showed you. So do we have any questions on storage now? Any question? Okay, so there's one question from the Venkateswara, Glacier. So Glacier is, let me put it in this way. AWS is having a Glacier, which is a kind of, let's say, I'll give you some perspective here before that talking about the Glacier. There's some data which you need to store it. Let's say you have a 10 TB of the data which you don't want to refer every day or every week or every month, but you want to store it somewhere. Probably you need it at some point of the time. But the thing is, your organization, you want to store it, but you don't have a budget. Your organization is not giving budget to store that much of the data toward the EBS, because EBS is much costlier. And EBS, why you want to store it the EBS? Because you don't need to access this data every day. Probably once in a month, probably once in a 2 month or 2 month, 3 months, something like that. So you are looking for some sort of solution, some sort of storage which is very damn cheap than EBS, okay, damn cheap than S3 storage, and you need it only at the certain times, and when you need it you can request that to be up and running and use it and again go back to the sleep mode like that. So Glacier is a kind of services which is not available every time. You store once, forget for some time, later once you need it you request that to be up and running, and it will become up and running, and then again it will go into the sleep mode, and then you will not be able to. So in this way, but the beauty of this, you can store large amount of the data, huge amount of the data on Glacier, and by paying almost nothing. So Glacier is a kind of services which is not highly available, but still you will be able to save the data at the very cheapest cost. So is that answer your question? Okay, so next question from the Randir. In EBS scenario, if we terminate the instance, we don't lose the data. Yes, that's correct, Randir. EBS, because EBS is a permanent storage. Okay, it's a block-based storage, permanent storage. So even though your instance is let's say it's terminated, you will not lose that data. Okay, again, that is also being snapshot. You can do the snapshot also. So snapshot will be always in the different availability zone. So that way automatic backup is also there if you set it up so. Okay, so there's one question from the Prashant. Can you quickly go through the demo of the EBS once again, please? Okay, so I can do that quickly. I go to the EC2. Go to the volumes under the Elastic Block Store, click one volumes and click 100 gigs of data under the availability zone 1A. I don't want to take any snapshot for time being, and then got it. And now you got the another volumes which you can see here after the start. Now you can see that it's available. Now you're going to attach to the some instance using the attach volume. You're going to find out the instance you have in 1A. You have 5 instances running. You can attach to anyone and you can start using it. So that way you can create this EBS, attach to it, mount it, start using the mount which you specify during the mount, attach, and then you can use it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to destroy this. Basically I am going to delete this volume. And why? Because it's a paid services. So I'm just first, and before deleting it you have to detach it. So one which I deleted first, which was not attached to it, but right now this one is attached, so I have to detach first and then only I'll be able to delete it. Okay, so that's the things. Let me refresh it, and I think it got detached. Now I'm going to delete this one. Okay, and now one more thing which you will have to do, that I'm going to delete the rest of the EC2 instance as well. So let me delete these 3, terminate, done. And the moment you terminate these 3 instances, if you look at it, the volumes also getting terminated. So it will be disappeared in the few seconds. That's called the temporary storage, ephemeral storage. Okay, and one more thing, you'll have to delete the snapshot if you have created the EBS. So I have created a EBS 1, so it created a snapshot, so I should delete the snapshot also, otherwise unnecessarily it will create a burden on your accounts. It's not going to charge for its snapshot, but the thing is like you sometimes, if you're in the production server, if you're using, you're not sure about it, which one is being used and all the stuff, so that way it will confuse you. So that way you should always do the cleanup, proper cleanup, to avoid the mess around here. Okay, so let me answer some of the other questions. There's one question from the Mukesh Kumar. Is it mandatory to attach this volume to EC2 instance? You mentioned EBS can host database as well. So how do we get the DB, and what would be the DB connection method? Okay, so it's like this. When you say database servers, then it has 2 things. One is like a database files, another one is a database application which you are running and it's managing that files. So when I say like a database application, database server, you can run on the EC2 instance. But when you want to store some database file, which is very important, because if you lose the database server, then you lose nothing, because you can get the application once again up and running. But if you lose the database files, then you lose everything. So you should store the database files, database schemas, database files, and all the supporting files in the EBS rather than mferl. Okay, so that way you can set it up. But with the saying that in the EC2 you can create a database server, you can store the database files at the EBS storage, but you have a few more services which is related to the database at AWS, which you can also use it in order to use the database services. So some of the services you can see that database here, you can create the relational database servers, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, Redshift, all this kind of database you can try it out. I'm so sorry, but this is not a part of this course, but I would have talked about it, this one as well, in other sessions. So probably we'll have to do some other sessions on this. Okay, so next question I'm going to answer. Can single ABS attach to the multiple instance? Randir, very much we can do that. We can do that. We can attach the single ABS and we can attach to the multiple instance actually. So this can be doable. When we say, there's one question from the Madhu. EBS is stored data. EBS is stored data is stored like a replica system, like Hadoop or SDFs. Probably no. When you say EBS, let's understand it's like a kind of storage which you can mount it. It's like your laptop drive. So you want to add one more drive, go ahead and add it. And how can you do that? You have to mount it. That's where you're going to use it, right? There's one question from the Sanjay. Can we reinitiate automatic snapshot post volume creation? Yes, of course. I am disabling it because I don't want to have so many snapshots created automatically, but you can have automated. So while creating the EBS itself, you're going to tell like where you're going to create automatic snapshot. So remember, snapshot will be always created in the another availability zone. So that way, if one availability zone is not available, others will be backed up. So that's how it is. Okay. Okay. So Madhu, there's one question from Madhu Sudan. Can I change the username and password for Windows machine? Can I change the username and password for Windows machine? Yes, you can do so. You can do so. Once you generate a username and password, you can go to this, just like another system, just like your system or my system. I can go and change the password, and it will be changed actually. Okay. So there's no issues as such. Okay. So there's one more question from the Mukesh Kumar. How can we get high availability with these volumes? Let's say this volume fails. Can we get this standby configured in some sort of clustered RSC types of configuration? So that's when we say like high availability. If this volumes, the one which you created, fails due to a number of reasons, and that is where the AWS job is coming. They realize the EBS which you have set it up is not available anymore, it's not accessible anymore, then immediately the snapshot which they have created, they are creating Allbase, using that snapshot, they will replace the EBS and create a new EBS with the same sort of data which you have it. So that is the things which will be done by the AWS. So there's one last question which I am going to take from the Madhu. How many VMs can we create in free tier? So again, this question is conditional. Usually you get a permission. Again, it depends on the region actually. And I have used the California region. I have used the Ireland and Mumbai as well. And I have not tested with the Mumbai the limits, but I have tested with the Ireland. And in the Ireland, we get around 20 machines which is getting created with the AWS free tier. and this can be increased or decreased based on the discussion with the supports. So you can request them to increase or decrease based upon your need. Okay. Okay, so there's one question from Venkateswara. Can you connect to instances? So I think Venkateswara, you missed this part. We have already showed the demo, so probably you might want to go through the recordings once again to see that how can we connect to the instances. And there's one question from the Venkateswara Rao. Can you please explain EFS also? So I'm so sorry, Venkateswara. I have got the defined agenda to talk about it, and in this certain time. So probably I would love to share more information with you, and but the thing is, like, you'll have to attend for this another webinar for the same actually. Okay. So okay. So now I've got around 5 to 7 minutes, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some of the extra features what we have it here. So now, if you look at it, EC2 dashboard, you have so many features. Now, how many running instances? So I've got the 2. How many dedicated hosts? I have none. Volumes, how many? I have 5. And basically, I should not be having the volume 5 volumes. So let me check why I'm having volume 5. Yes. So the picture was wrong because I terminated all the volumes which was not needed. So everything is okay now. So now key pairs, I have got the 3. Load balances, I have none. I have not set it up anything. Security groups, I have set it up. Snapshot, I have 1. Elastic IP, I have none. So like this. Now, if you look at it, the scroll down this places here. Under the instance tab, you see the list of instances which you are running. So as of now, you can see the 2 instances which I am running, 4 instances which got disabled. So now you must be wondering, like, how come we are getting this EC2 instance, S3, VPC, and all the stuff. So basically, this is nothing but it's a kind of adding and creating your own list. So it's like this. I click on this, unpin it, and now I want to move this guy, Elastic Cache, to this place. I got it. Now I want to move to DynamoDB here. I got it. I want to move the CloudFront here. And remember, there's so many services of AWS, you can check it out. And then move it the one which you are using every time. So basically, I'm not using a DynamoDB now, but I'm using S3 probably more, or IAM more than the DynamoDB. So let's move it IAM. So these are the things which I use it. And log this top. So that way you can optimize your views also. So let's get back to the EC2 again. And here is the spot request. I have not gone for the spots. If you remember, spots is nothing but a kind of bidding process where you can bid for the available EC2 instance which was given by the AWS at the cheapest cost. Okay, reserve instance, I have none actually, and it's again one of the highest paying instance which you have it. And schedule instance, like you want to schedule some activities, purchase schedule instance, like at that time it will be created, it will be deleted and all this stuff. You can do that here. AMIs we have already discussed. It's like creating own EMIs. Some of the other features what you're going to discuss, like volumes we did discussed, snapshot we did discussed, security groups which we have created one, elastic IP I could not create, but let me show you this. The probably again this is the paid services, so you have to be very careful while using it. So you want to allocate the new IP address. You get the new IP address. This is your static IP address. Remember, this will never change. Now you want to assign this IP address to any of the instance. So just click on it and associate address, and click on it and select the instance which you want to associate. So if you want to, if you'll get associated, this will never be changed until you change it manually. So that way you can assign the address to any EC2 instance with a static IP address as well. Key pairs group is nothing but the one which you talk about. These are the interfaces which you have got it by default. So this is the one which I am using currently, which is this one. Okay. but you can create as many network interfaces you wanted. Load balancers, again, you can try it out setting up, but again, you'll have to know the basic of the internet and things like that. And many more options which you have it. Maintenance, you do in that you can boot up the new machines, you can set up the schedules, you can do some upgrades, this, that, and sort of things. You can do that. So till now, what we did talk about the only the two features of this the C of the AWS. We have so many features available, which is like auto scaling, elasticity, high availability, setting up the DNS servers, setting up the load balancers, setting up the networking, which is like nothing but which is nothing but what do you say? Route 53, and so many things. So we have so many things to learn at this platform, but as part of the today's webinar, we did talk about the two things, which is like how can we get the virtual servers and how can we get the storage. So we got the virtual servers using EC2, we got the storage using the EBS and S3, and that is how it is. So with this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap it up this session, and of course I hope you like this session, and if you have any further question, you can reach out to me and the coordinator for the skill speed. My name is Rajesh Kumar, and you can have many more queries. You can shoot out the email to coordinator, they will send it to me, and then we can get going. So I'm having probably 5 more minutes, and in that I'm going to answer some of your questions if you have, and then I'm going to transfer the call to the coordinator, and from there onwards he's going to take care of the remaining questions if it's not answered by me. So there's one question, can you please talk about the container services for the 2 to 3 minutes? I can talk about it, but I'm so sorry, 2 to 3 minutes is very less to talk about these services. But let me tell you, it's a kind of platform. When you talk about the container services, the AWS container service is nothing but the kind of platform where you can create a containers and as as possible. So remember the container, when you talk about the container, it's like a Docker engine. Docker engine you can run in the laptop, you can run in the desktop, you can run in the virtual machine, you can run in the cloud. So anywhere you can run it. And the platform which AWS is giving you a platform to run the Docker engine, so you can have the container services up and running over there. Okay, so there's one question from the Satish. Can you suggest the material for the AWS DevOps certification? Is online reading enough to clear the test? No. Online reading is not, of course, not enough for the clearing the test. You should be having the right training as well as right course material as well as right practice. It's not only by the reading you're going to clear the test, because many questions they'll ask you which will be in a confusion in nature actually, which will be confusing you actually. So again, you might be knowing, but you don't know how to, you have not worked within those environment, or you have not seen some sort of labs or demos, so you will not be able to expose with it actually. Okay, so there's one question, do you need to register any other session for the AWS services that need to be covered? So basically I have my coordinator with me, so he's going to answer this question, Sanjay. He'll be the right person to talk about it. Any other questions which you guys have it? Okay, so I am going to request a coordinator, Manish or Santanu, to take up the remaining questions if possible, and then we can get going. Thanks, Sanjay. Thank you very much. Are we having any coordinator from Skill Speed? I'm wondering, are we having any coordinator from Skill Speed? Okay, so guys, it seems like I think we need to wait for few more minutes before we get the coordinator in this meeting. So probably I will get few more minutes to interact with you. So what I can do about it is like I can discuss about the containers. Yes, that's the one question which I could not answer because of time. So let me try to answer this question. And when we say containers, so if you remember physical servers, and then in that time when we were using physical servers, then if suppose you needed 10 machines, 10 servers, then you used to buy 10 CPU, 10 RAM, 10 hard disk, 10 operating system. So that means you have to pay for 10. The ultimate purpose of your all the machines was to host the 10 app, and for that you have bought the 10 CPU, 10 RAM, 10 hard disk, 10 operating system. But what is the actual utilization? So if you look at the on an average actual utilization, it is not more than 10%. I'm just giving you a figure just to you to visualize it. 10%. So that is where we saw that huge wastage in terms of resources. So that is where we started talking about how can we avoid the wastage of the hardware resources. Then we introduced the virtualization. So when we have a virtualization, we can optimize the resources utilization. So we have only one physical server, and then in that we have a 10 VMs, virtual machines. We converted the same virtual server to 10 VMs. So now we have 10 virtual machines. But in this model also, we have so much of the wastage. And one of the wastage is like hypervisor, which is taking good amount of CPU, which is taking the good amount of CPU plus process. And important things, other things like operating system. For the each VM, you have operating system in place, and that operating system is again is a paid thing. So you have to pay for it. Again, each operating system consumes the lots of CPU, lots of RAM, lots of memories, and etc. So how can you avoid these resources? Because my ultimate purpose is to have host the 10 apps rather than all this complicated infrastructure and wastage. So in this scenario, we have got the new technology, the evolution has come, new things has come, and then we got the from the virtualization we got the container concept, where you are having the only one level of operating system which you can run at any places, and you can host a 10 application. But you can experience that each application is running in their own environment, own different operating system, but it is not. It is running on the base operating system also. So that's a word of the container. That's the meaning of the container actually. It is a container. It will act like a different environment, but it is not. So that is where the Docker has come into the picture. So Docker is a kind of container-based technology, and in that, what we're going to do, we're going to try it out in number of containers and things like that. Okay, so now I think we have a coordinator from the skill speed, Manish, and Manish, I think I'm done with it, and you're going to take care of this session from here onwards. Can you please take care of the questions from the participants? Manish, are you there? Okay, so please go ahead, Manish. Okay guys, so I think I've got the confirmation from the coordinator, and what he's going to do, he's going to send out an email to everyone, and those who needs any information, any questions, any queries, you can contact the SkillSpeed directly, and then we'll be able to help you out in terms of training. Again, tomorrow we're going to connect for the DevOps session, which is very important, and we're going to dig out the world of the DevOps, various tools, technology, and some of the exciting labs also we're going to do that. So let's connect tomorrow and then see how it goes. And you guys have a very good night and see you tomorrow. Bye everyone.